Story time about how my ex-boyfriend accused me of cheating on an all-girls trip. So a little background information, I was 14 or 15 around the time, and it was the summer of my freshman year. So within the last few weeks of my 8th grade year, one of the more popular boys asked me out, and we're gonna call him Carson. I wasn't like super popular at the school, but I was like a medium maybe. But I was raised in a super strict household, where the only phone that I pretty much had was one that was able to call 911 and my parents. And I especially was not allowed to be talking to boys. So Carson had the great idea of giving me his old phone, and throughout the summer, I would text him on there. Well, I started to realize him getting really toxic. Anytime that he would see my Snapchat location change, he would be like, "Where are you going? Why didn't you tell me you were going here?" So I started distancing myself a little bit from him. Also because our relationship was just moving way too fast. Within the first month of us dating, he was talking about wanting to marry me. Life for part 2. Part 2 about how my ex-boyfriend accused me of cheating on him on an all-girls trip. So like I said, I started distancing myself from him because he became too attached and was just way too toxic. Well, I was also in a lot of clubs in school, and a few of them would require me to go on trips. Well, the one that I went on was an all-girls trip, and before I left, I texted Carson letting him know that I wouldn't have my phone all week. Well, on the last night of my trip, there was a girls and boys dance. There was like a group of boys from a different school that we were meeting up with, and I tried staying back at the cabin, but they wouldn't let me. So we started doing dances that required partners, so I was pretty much forced to dance with one of the boys. Well, when I came back home, I got 100 texts from Carson calling me a bunch of nasty names, and you can probably guess them. And somebody got a picture of me dancing with one of the boys, and Carson sent it to me and said, "We're done." So after that, I just ignored him. And then literally that night at 1 a.m., he was texting me saying, "I miss you, please come back to me," like for part 3. Part 3 about how my ex-boyfriend accused me of cheating on him on an all-girls trip. So like I said, I received over 100 messages from him. He got a picture of me dancing with one of the boys and said, "We're done." And then at 1 in the morning, he's like, "I miss you so much. Please don't leave me. Like, I've been doing so bad while you were gone." So of course I didn't accept his apology and I just blocked him on all my social media. And the next day I wake up to messages on my Instagram, my Snapchat, my Facebook. Like, who even uses that? Unless you're talking to family. Well, then Carson decides to tell everybody at my school about how I'm a lying, cheating scumbag. And now, 3 years later, no good guy from my school wants to date me. So now whenever I'm talking to a guy, I have to make sure that they're not affiliated with Carson in any way. But low-key, I had a really good glow-up, so all the hot boys want to talk to me now. And Carson's pretty much still a scumbag. Story time about my boyfriend's crazy ex-girlfriend. We love that for us. So a little background information, I was 17 at the time and a junior in high school, and I have a boyfriend and we are going to call him Tay. Tay and I have been together for a little over 6 months, and you know, everything was going great, or so I thought, until out of the blue, he just broke up with me. Random as heck. He said it was because his grades weren't great, and his mom thought it would be a good idea if we broke up. Real sus, but you know. Well, come to find out, 2 days later, it's because of another girl. And not just any random girl. It was a girl that he had been messing around before he even got with me. Which isn't really a surprise to me because Tay always had this not nice reputation. He was what they called a player and a cheater. Like, he was the guy who was really good looking and would make you feel super special at the time, when he wanted to. So, you know, silly old me, I thought that being a bad bitch was enough to keep my man loyal and devoted to me. But of course, I was wrong. But funny enough, it wasn't long before he was messing around with me again. Like, this kid literally was just like, you know, having a field day with, seeing how many bitches he could get with at the same time. You know, just the king out here living his best life. Well, the girl that he left me for, we are going to call Missy. At first, this girl had no idea who I was. And she had no idea that Tay and I were still seeing each other. And I planned to keep it that way because I had this whole idea on how I was going to get Tay back. So, you know, as I thought my plan was moving along smoothly, Missy decides that she's going to transfer to my school. So, of course, I decided to change my plan up a little bit. I decided that I was going to try and become friends with her, weirdly enough, while at the same time sleeping with her boyfriend, Tay. And it was definitely hard to keep up because Tay and I almost got caught literally probably several times. And not only that, Missy was like everywhere that we went. Like, sis did not give us a moment alone. Low-key, I don't blame her, but at the same time, for me, it was annoying. Well, to be honest, she was only at our school for a little bit, and it did not take Tay long at all to come crawling back to me and leaving her in the dust. Goodbye. So once she found this out, she transferred back to her school. So at this point, I thought that Tay and I could finally be happy, you know, happily ever after. But of course not. Missy tries to come back into our lives and says that we should all just be friends. Girl, who do you think is falling for that? Well, clearly we did, because we accepted her apology for something she didn't even do, and we were all just friends. And then out of nowhere, she asked us if we can all three do the nasty. Weird as hell. Like, I cannot even tell y'all how annoying and how up our asses she was all the time. And in the mix of all of this, Tay is of course getting kicked out of his house. And he told me that it was because of his grades and him and his mom were arguing a lot. And of course he didn't want to stay at my family's house because my family was too strict and religious. So of course I felt bad, and I told my abuela to come and pick me and him up so we can help him figure shit out. Well, I guess he forgot that he had his location tracker on, because later when I went to call him, he didn't answer, so I decided to track his phone. And no, I do not see anything wrong with that, so don't even ask. Well, I track him and it says that he is near the school park. So of course my abuela and I pull up, and of course who do I see? Missy, of course. So I'm pissed off, I get out of the car, Missy and I are arguing at this point, and of course we're arguing over Tay. So I'm like, no, he's coming with me. Well, eventually we had been arguing for a while, and my family saw that I was very upset about the whole situation, so they let Tay stay at our house. So finally he agreed, and my family had him stay in the guest house. Well, a few weeks later, my mom and my dad got into a huge fight after they caught me and Tay doing the nasty. Love that for me. So then they said the best decision was for Tay to go and stay with my grandparents. Well, fast forward, it's April Fool's Day, and I thought it would be funny if I played a prank on one of my friends. So I post on my story saying that I'm pregnant, and I kid you not, 15 minutes later, I see on Missy's story, she's pregnant too. So of course I decide to reach out, say congratulations, and ask who the father is. Because not too long ago, sis was obsessed with my man. But just in the mix of this, I put on my story that I was just kidding, because a lot of people were swiping up and asking way too many questions. And then she literally responds and says, oh, you already know who the father is. It's Tay. What? No, I did not know that. And then she proceeds to tell me the real reason why Tay got kicked out of his mom's house. So Tay's mom was kind of strict. She had a rule where no girls were allowed over, unless it was me, of course. And Tay snuck Missy into the house. And whenever Tay's mom went upstairs to check on him and make sure that he was doing schoolwork, she caught him and Missy doing a little bit more than just cuddling. Well, I guess sis saw my story and she put up on hers, I'm not joking, I'm so excited to be a new mother. So obviously I confront Tay, but I still decided to let him stay with my family because I felt bad. Why did I feel bad? Because he was essentially homeless. So then he starts apologizing. So I told him, listen, if you're gonna stay here, we need to get to the bottom of this. So we text one of Missy's friends and we ask if it's true. And they're like, yeah, it's true. Like, Tay better be ready to step up as a father. So then we tell Missy that she needs to take a test in front of us because it's just extremely hard to believe. Because yes, they did use protection. And of course you don't want to at first. I mean, I wouldn't want to either if I was lying. Well, as you would expect, the test comes back negative. And then whenever we leave, she texts him saying that all the other tests that she took came back positive. She doesn't know why this one came back negative. Just like digging herself a deeper hole. Like, sis, stop. It's done. We know. We know. So then she said that she was gonna get an ultrasound. So we were like, okay, if she is telling the truth, then this ultrasound, you know, will prove that. Well, when they get to the hospital, she doesn't want to have Tay in the room. So she tells Tay to go home, of course. And then we all met up. She showed him pictures from the ultrasound with all of her information crossed out. My thing is one, they would not be able to do an ultrasound, I feel like, that early. I mean, I don't know about this stuff. But like, sis, there's not even a baby. There's something that big in your fucking stomach. I mean, in your uterus. So at this point, we all knew that she was lying, and it was really pathetic and very embarrassing for her. Well, I guess she got the hint because shortly after this situation, she told us that she didn't want us to be a part of the baby's life, yada, 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 and that Tay would never, ever, ever know his son. Well, eventually, of course, 9 months passed and no baby, as expected. Her cousin said that she never even attended another baby appointment or anything like that. There was no bump. But in the end, Tay decided to do what he does best, which was see other women while we were dating. Missy went on to raise a fake baby in her delusional ass world. And I moved on to better days in a really nice college. So I guess you could say that it all worked out. Okay, everybody, thank you guys.
My wife, 42, caught us, her sister, 30, and me, 44, last Christmas in her dad's tool shed, and the look on her face still haunts me, waking me up in the middle of the night with chest pain and I can't go back to sleep afterwards. She didn't seem surprised. She wasn't angry. She didn't yell or cry. Nothing. I ran after her and all she said was that she expected this from her but never from me. We have 3 children together, 4, 5, and 11. I love my wife. I don't know if she loves me though. Since that day, she never looked me straight in my face. She never talked to me about anything other than the matters concerning the children, and even though she keeps a happy face around the children and family and friends, and nobody has suspected anything different about us, I know it's different and I know it's just a front. I miss her old, bubbly, cheerful self because when we're alone, she could finally be herself. She's silent and distant. I miss being irritated that she would never shut up when we're watching TV, commenting everything about the show and trying to beat the detectives to finding out who the killer is. Now we just sit in silence at each end of the sofa without a glance towards each other, and even though we share the same bed, it feels like she's miles away. The change came a month ago. Like she finally started living again. I see that she's starting to put on weight again and I catch her smiling to herself. I don't know what changed. If she's finally forgiving me, or as I suspect, she's seeing someone else. However, I can't confront her because then everything is lost.